Thank you. Okay, I'd like to call the Monday, November 20th, 2023 Board of Education meeting to order at 7:04. Can we stand for the pledge, please? Mr. Cap, would you be kind enough to read the mission statement?
Sure. The Orange Elementary School District recognizes that the education of each child is the shared responsibility of every member of our community. Our goal is to inspire and empower each student to achieve academic excellence, embrace social and individual responsibility, and lead with integrity. We believe all individuals should be valued and treated with respect. Together, we will make a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Cap. The election is over. I'm very happy to see the board as it exists right now. Betty's not here, but she will be joining us again for another term. We have a new member, Anthony Scarinzi. I did that on purpose, Anthony. Anyway, he is a new board member, and we welcome you. Any questions, feel free to ask. Everyone is available for questioning, and we'll see what we can do here. All right? We will move on to public participation. I know that we have 3 students here from Amity High. How are you? Speakers may offer objective comments to the board concerning school operations and programs. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. The board encourages speakers not to express personal complaints or defamatory comments about the Orange Board of Education, personnel, or any other person associated with the Orange Public School System. Comments about security issues, matters related to due process, negotiation, or grievances will not be permitted. Consistent with the principles of the Federal Education Right to Privacy Act, discussions about students are prohibited absent a written parent waiver. Public participation does not allow for a two-way conversation between the board and the participants. We thank you for expressing your thoughts and opinions. All comments will be taken into consideration. Do we have any public participation? Very well. Consent agenda. I will be looking for a motion to accept the first item under the consent agenda. The first item is the minutes from the October 16th, 2023 Board of Education meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the October 16th, 2023 Board of Education meeting? Liz, second. Carm? Any conversation? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very good. We will move right to the superintendent's report. Dr. Scarpetti.
Good evening, Mr. Crow and the rest of the board members. I'd like to begin by saying this time of year brings many activities and events that occur. We started last year with Halloween parades, a lot of events that are occurring right now. But I want to pay particular note to one, which is, as everyone was well aware of, Saturday, November 11th was Veterans Day. I want to thank all our schools in the town who honored our vets. We extend a heartfelt thank you and gratitude for their service, and we thank for all the board members who were able to attend. Special thanks to all the Veterans Day committee members who made the Veterans Day Assembly possible. For those of you that participated, we usually send pictures in the next board update. It's so heartfelt of what each school does to remember our vets. I share this sentiment also, that when I first arrived here, very few vets reached out to me and were inquiring why we didn't have the day off. And it wasn't not to dishonor them, but to honor them, because I truly believe, and speaking with the vets now, they are appreciative that we are in school and that there are events such as these that are occurring, so our children could really see what it is about and really honor those vets. In addition, I want to send a thank you to the Orange Rotary, who provided dinner to the members of the American Legion Post 127. We have to serve them a meal. I want to thank Mrs. Ewan for actually making that happen. So again, a special thanks to all our vets, and they're in our hearts and our thoughts always. Believe it or not, the first trimester ended November 8th, and report cards will be sent to parents this Wednesday, November 22nd. Another item that I've shared in the past is a winter advisory letter. That's been posted. It's on our website. The one thing I would like to ask parents who are watching is remind them to update their phone numbers and emails onto PowerSchool. We have times where that doesn't occur, and when information is shared due to delays or anything related to winter advisory, please update that information when you have a time. Regarding security, we have conducted all our safety and security meetings and lockdown drills at each of our schools. Mr. Gray will provide further details to the board in a moment. With regards to Building and Grounds Subcommittee, we reviewed the capital items and the 5-year plan. From those discussions, we led to the items that have been submitted to the Capital Committee, which are at your desk. The board has been provided. Please take a moment and look at that, but we want to extend a thanks to the Board of Finance and that committee for always keeping us in mind. That meeting will occur in December. The budget process for the 2024-2025 budget is in motion. Information went out to all directors and building principals at the end of September. Budget requests were submitted to the central office at the end of October, and follow-up meetings will occur with me by each school and department in December. And just lastly, as everyone knows, it's Thanksgiving this Thursday. As Mr. Crow acknowledged the board, I want to thank for all the board members that are continuing to be on the board. Mr. Scarinzi, welcome. And again, just to thanks to everyone, from our parents who help out with all these activities, our staff who are so dedicated to our students, and for the kids and who are doing a great job. And really, you know, I was looking at my notes and how much we've grown since the pandemic and how we're kind of back to where we were. And just this moment of time to send thank you to everyone and everyone that's participated in the school so far this year. Just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And that ends my report.
Dr. Scarpetti, when do you anticipate the possibility of the budget meeting for the board? Sometime in January?
Say it again, Mr. Crow.
When do you anticipate the first meeting for the budget to be held with the board?
Typically, it's in the last week of January.
Last week of January? Okay.
As history has it, we have our board meeting, and it's the week afterwards.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Scarpetti? Very well, thank you, Dr. Scarpetti. Mr. Gray?
Good evening, everyone. I'll begin with a summary of our grants, our current grants, and their standing. Several of these grants are part of the American Rescue Plan, or ARP. You'll hear me say ARP or ARPA. And also we have the ESSER grants, which are the elementary and secondary school emergency relief grants. The first grant is the ARP ESSER 3 grant. Our original allocation for that grant was $326,181. We now have $96,861 remaining for that grant. Primary use to date for that has been our summer learning programs. We also have the ARP ESSER Innovative After School Grant. That was an allocation of $479,098. We now have $167,620 remaining. And again, that grant has been used for 2023 and will be used in 2024 for innovative after-school programming throughout our schools. We have a summer enrichment grant, which was an allocation originally of $299,986. That grant has been spent down by $149,993, leaving that exact amount remaining as a balance. Again, that's been used for summer programming for 2023 and 2024. The ARPA Online Abuse Prevention Grant, which is a collaboration with the Orange Police Department to elaborate on their SOAR program, was an allocation of $30,000. We've just begun expending that. In the last couple of weeks, we've spent $200 of that, so we're down to $29,800. More will be spent coming soon. There are some activities that the police department will be doing that are community-wide type events. The ARPA Right to Read grant was an original allocation of $79,000. We have yet to start spending that grant. That is one of our newer grants that we received. That is for 2023 and 2024 assistance with K-3 scientifically based, evidence-based literacy, teaching, and learning. We also have the ARPA Summer Mental Health Support Grant. This is a $50,000 grant. Again, a newer grant that we have. We have not begun spending that down yet. This is for the delivery of mental health services to students in summer programs. The ARPA School Mental Health Specialist Grant, which is a $92,505 grant this year. We've spent $11,350 of that grant, $81,155 remaining. That is for hiring and maintaining school mental health specialists. New to the list this month is from the Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, School Security Competitive Grant for $61,466. That is for school security infrastructure improvements. We have the Connecticut, I feel like this list goes on and on. I apologize. This is the Connecticut High Dosage Tutoring Grant. Last month, I reported that the grant was for $142,000. In the last week, we received a notice from the state that it is being increased to $152,000, so an extra $10,000. And again, this grant is being used with our sixth graders, enhancing mathematics proficiency through high dosage tutoring. And finally, the primary project grant, which is a $20,000 allocation. We have $16,727 remaining. This grant is to target K-3 early detection and prevention programs for emotional, behavioral, and learning problems. For food services, this past month in October, the Orange District opted into receiving the fourth round of supply chain assistance funding in the amount of $31,793.07. This is provided by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Services. These funds may be used by school food authorities to purchase unprocessed or minimally processed domestic food products for National School Lunch Program. Again, I'd like to just remind families at home that the paid lunch price for the 23-24 school year is set at $3.15 this year. Any family who believes they may qualify for free or reduced lunch are encouraged to and reminded to submit an application. Families can find the free and reduced lunch application and other relevant materials at our website at Orange Elementary Schools Food Services. And finally, for finances, the audit. The 2022-23 Educational Financial System reporting was completed and certified at the end of September by Dr. Scarpetti. The auditors will continue their work this month on the 2022-23 agreed upon procedures audit, as well as a general audit of financial procedures, and should have this wrapped up early to mid-December. That concludes the finance portion of the report.
Very good. Go ahead.
Mr. Gray, I want to thank you and all of the people that are working on these grants. When we were first, Bill and I were talking about it before, when we first came on, we weren't getting any grants. There was none of this money coming in and out, and regardless of COVID or anything else, you guys are getting wonderful grants that are helping our district, that you're competitively putting them out. It's fantastic. So congratulations to you all, and I'm sure our town really appreciates it as well.
No,
Thank you.
that was my comment as well. It's amazing that we've gone from getting nothing to, just keep the list going. Any other questions for Mr. Gray? Mr. Ziman?
Thank you, though. No, I just want to hop on what was said. I thought I'd be first, but I did want to congratulate the people who are applying for these grants. And I know that some of them are competitive and they take a lot of work as well. So everybody deserves a lot of praise.
I have to give most of the credit to Dr. Russo and Mrs. Ito. They do put a lot of time into the grants, and a lot of those are because of their hard work. So I do want to give them kudos for that. They do put in a lot.
Well, we do appreciate it. Darlene, could you put it down that Mr. Ziman was first on his comment? Thank you.
I object to that.
Anyone else? For Mr. Gray? Mr. Gray, would you like to give your second report?
Sure.
Thank you.
So under security updates, Dr. Scarpetti just asked me to share some details regarding our school security meetings that we hold each year. We hold these 3 times a year. In attendance at these meetings are the school staff, select school staff, custodian, security monitor, our school security officers, members of the Orange Police Department, the fire marshal's office, and the building principal. The purpose of the meetings is to review our plans and procedures and make adjustments as necessary. Also mentioned by Dr. Scarpetti were the lockdown drills. These drills go hand in hand with our crisis and safety meetings, and they're conducted in collaboration with the Orange Police Department. We do these drills twice a year at the minimum. During the drills, several police officers are in attendance, and they do help us and assist and oversee our procedures during the drill, and they make recommendations for any improvements during our debriefing after the lockdown drills. Our building emergency lighting system was recently inspected at all of our schools. This was conducted over the past 2 weeks. The only deficiency found were a couple of batteries that needed to be replaced. They were nearing the end of their productive life. So that was what needed to be done. And that actually is the end of my report for facilities.
Any questions for Mr. Gray on facilities? Very well. Thank you, Mr. Gray.
Thank you.
Dr. Russo.
Good evening. I'd like to start my report by sharing that we had an opportunity to meet with the State Department of Education and the Public Consulting Group, or PCG, on October 31st, Halloween, at 4 o'clock for that 25-minute meeting on the reading waiver. We answered several questions about the scope and sequence of our program, about the explicitness of the curriculum, and questions about onboarding. And in addition, in that short time, we were also able to summarize how our curriculum is carefully crafted and very intentional about thinking about those evidence-based literacy practices that connect and integrate all the strands of the literacy components to both narrative and informational books, so that students and teachers can see and realize how these strands and components are interrelated, how they work in tandem, and I really think that's a strength of what we do. We don't really teach those components in silos, and that's what's really special about the curriculum. We also show how each strand increases in complexity over time, how the strands and the components impact proficient listening, speaking, reading, and writing at all levels. And we think that they were impressed with our presentation, and we will find out if we do receive that waiver on December 1st. In addition, our team attended the second Right to Read Professional Learning Series, which was held on November 6th. We continue to have our math grade level meetings. We've engaged in some professional learning on oral language development practices and some new data collection on that component. We also had an opportunity to engage in our sessions on Election Day, where we had an opportunity for the whole staff to really come together and understand how each grade level really participates in making sure that our students learn how to read proficiently. Also streamlining the curriculum and storyboarding. Those were two new concepts that were layered into that day. We also had an opportunity for some members of the Professional Development Evaluation Committee to engage in some professional learning sessions for the new teacher evaluation process that will occur in the fall, and Mr. Ziman will inform you about where we are with that work so far. And finally, just a little bit about the grant with the police department that Mr. Gray and Dr. Scarpetti mentioned. And that's that we're going to have a parent pizza night for families of all sixth graders who participate in SOAR, which stands for the Students of Orange Acting Responsibly. On Wednesday, December 6th, a flyer was shared with families in school newsletters. Childcare will be provided if needed. The event will be held at Peck Place School. Sixth graders are currently brainstorming mural ideas and will enter their ideas in an art contest. And this art contest will decide what the mural will look like at the police station. It'll be a life-size version of the winner's submission. And we also have some T-shirt contests going on. And that ends my report, Mr. Kraut.
Any questions for Dr. Russo? Very well, thank you, Dr. Russo. Mrs. Zito?
Good evening. Mr. Gray provided a spoiler alert, but I will share anyway. We are pleased to announce that the Orange Elementary School has been awarded the primary project competitive grant again for this round of funding. We are now going into our 5th year of implementation. As a reminder, primary project allows children in grades K through 3 a play-based way to connect with a caring adult personally. Children are considered for services based on teacher survey results and input as well as parent feedback. Our teachers completed a teacher rating scale as part of the identification process. There are 4 primary domains looked at when considering children who may benefit: task orientation, assertiveness, behavior control, social peer interactions. Data will be shared with teachers and parents next week so that permission may be obtained from parents or guardians and the child associates can begin working with children. On another note, I am happy to share that we have activated the parent portal as part of the Connecticut Special Education Data System, CT-SEDS, the Individual Education Plan Section 504 system. Parents of children who receive either of these services should have received an email from their child service provider giving them information of how to access information such as their child's progress reports, IEP, or 504 plans. Similar to the report card that Dr. Scarpetti referenced, children who have an IEP also receive a progress report updating their family regarding their individual education plan. This report may be one of the first documents that they have received through the parent portal. We hope this system will provide parents with 24-hour access to their child service plan and move towards a more paper-free system. Finally, Thanksgiving is a time to reflect for all that we are grateful for. I want to express my gratitude to the board and the families of Orange. I am so appreciative to be a part of this team. That being said, I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. That
Thank you.
concludes my
Any
report.
questions for Mrs. Zito? Susan?
I just have one. I know that over time, the Connecticut SEDS seem to be a challenge. And so I'm hoping that it's been thoroughly tested so that parents don't have any problems. So have we had, like, people be able to get in so far? Has there been any challenges?
That is a great question. So far, we have not received any concerns other just kind of like, thank you, received, that sort of thing. So we are still continuing to assess and reach out to families to see if it has successfully gotten into their hands and if they have any questions. We did send an email forewarning them, basically, or preparing them for it with a video that showed them how to access that information, and reached out to see if anybody has any questions or any problems with it. And so far, we have not received any negative feedback since we have completely launched it.
It's wonderful news.
Yes.
Thank you.
So fingers
Hope it
crossed.
continues to go well.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Anyone else for Mrs. Zito? Mr. Ziman?
Since Ms. Zito mentioned it, I'm grateful for all the people at that table. And Darlene.
Carm?
Just a question. Can they access it in their native language?
The IEPs can be provided to the families, and there's, I think, 10 different languages that can be triggered through the portal, and the IEP, yes, is translated into those languages.
Thanks for asking that question.
Yes.
Great question.
Anyone else for Mrs. Zito? Very well, thank you, Mrs. Zito. All right, so we will move on to board business, but before we do that, I would like to remind the board that at the next meeting, we will be electing officers for the Board of Education, which means chairman, vice chair, and secretary. This, That's all right. Someone's voting already for. What this process entails is the board, any board member can be up for any position. And regardless of whether it's an existing vice chair, chair, or secretary, or someone new, what happens is I open the meeting, the chairman opens the meeting, we do the pledge, I think we probably do public participation, and then the meeting gets turned over to Dr. Scarpetti, and Dr. Scarpetti will then run the meeting. So the board doesn't have a chair at that time, so just keep an eye on them.
Could fire us all.
And then he will take nominations from the floor. And we generally vote by paper ballot. Do you go secretary, vice, and chair, or you go chair, vice, secretary? I'm not sure.
We typically start with the chair first.
Yeah, so he'll ask for nominations for chair, and then we will vote. I think everybody here except for Anthony has done this at least once, right? Yeah, so anyhow, that's coming up. So anyone interested in the position or wants to talk to any of us, just feel free to contact any of us if you have any questions about the election. All right? Very well. Board business, Dr. Scarpetti, 2025 Orange Board of Ed school calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Crow. All of you have the proposed calendar. As we have in the past, we give you a month to look at that, but I want to note 2 items. One is the Amity Student Government reached out to the entire board requesting 2 holidays off. Mr. Scarinzi, I know you weren't part of the board, but I gave you that letter to look at, but it's also at your seat for everyone to review if you needed a hard copy. So that was a request for the Amity Student Government. And secondly, Amity asked for a request for February break, an entire full February break. So if you look at the calendar, or when you have a chance to look at the link, they're asking for a full February break to support continuation of their unpaid experiential learning program or senior internship, or the senior interest project. These programs run from the 3rd Monday in May until approximately 4 days before graduation, and they're looking to increase the days for the internships. It was shared that there's some feedback was received that some partners believe that it's not long enough, but after some follow-up questions, it was stated that ultimately, if there is no calendar change, they will continue to find ways to create a learning experience for their seniors in real-world settings. So again, those 2 items will be looked at and will have to be discussed by the board at the next board meeting if that's what the board chooses to do so.
Very well. Does everyone know what that program is that Dr. Scarpetti is talking about? Okay. Doctor, if you want to give a brief overview.
So I truly don't know much about it, but I guess it's a way for seniors to participate in real world experiences. The partnerships are businesses throughout Orange or outside of Orange that they're able to do and collaborate with. So it's exposing to interests that the seniors have. And I believe,
There's 2 different ones.
right.
If I
So
can just add, there's 2 different ones.
one is a senior
these-
internship and one is a senior interest project.
Right.
But I believe, I'm trying to see how many seniors participate. About 95% are in the internship program.
Okay, so basically what it is, if memory serves me, my daughter participated in it. The students are asked, the seniors are asked to go out, I believe they have to find a business that'll allow an intern, and they spend a week with that particular business. Is it more
It's
than
a
a week?
certain number of hours.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is.
How
But-
many?
I know that it's mandatory now, like every student has to participate.
Right.
And it's like a normal school day. So it's like, I think
But
8
it's-
hours.
It's 8 hours, it's almost 8 hours a day, but I want to say, I thought it was for like 3 weeks. When my son did it, he was looking for an internship. He found one. He actually talked to his guidance counselor, and they suggested that the one he had was good, but he also might want to look at some others based on things he was interested in. And so he ended up getting one that was actually at a chiropractor's office, and he enjoyed it. And he ultimately had to, keep records of stuff like that, and it was a great experience for him. But there are others that'll do a research project, and they take time to do their research, and then they present it out, and they can present it in a number of different ways.
Isn't there like a certain amount of time after they graduate before school gets out? Because last year I had an intern, but he came to me during, the Amity School Day.
It was during the day, because what happens is that they finish earlier, it's probably about a month before graduation. And then they have 3 weeks of internship, and then they graduate.
Yeah.
So they don't, provided they're in this, they take their finals earlier.
Yeah, so anyhow, I know the program's been there for quite some time, but anyhow, we'll take a look at that. All right, so we're going to move on to, does anyone have any more comments or questions? Yes, Carmen.
I just think that something that has nothing to do with the board. I just think that, number one, we don't have enough information about these programs at this level, and I don't think that it should be a discussion for this board.
Well, we'll have a discussion prior to voting on our
Okay.
calendar in December.
So can we have more information on these
Yeah,
programs?
you can obviously,
and
and
how they're
certainly
gonna impact?
contact Dr. Scarpetti, and we'll get you the information you need.
Okay.
Okay?
I just think that that's high school.
No, I understand, Carmen. Anyone else? All right, thank you. All right. Board business, policy, second read. Orange Board of Ed policy 4121, substitute teacher. Do I have a motion to accept policy 4121, substitute teacher, as presented this evening? Carmen, second. Susan? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Orange Board of Ed Policy 6141.322, computer website pages. Do I have a motion to accept Policy 6141.322, computer website pages, as presented? Mr. Ziman? Liz? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Orange Board of Ed Policy 6162.6, copyright law compliance. Do I have a motion to accept Policy 6162.6, copyright law compliance? Susan, second. Mr. Ziman? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Policy second read, Orange Board of Ed Policy 6164.4, identification of special needs and abilities. Do I have a motion to accept Policy 6164.4, identification of special needs and abilities, as presented? Carmen, second. Susan, all in favor? I'm sorry, discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Very well. Okay, moving on to first reads. Orange Board of Ed Policy 4148/4248, personnel certified /non-certified employee protection. Policy first read, Orange Board of Ed Policy 5124, students reporting to parents. Policy first read, Orange Board of Ed Policy 5131.5, students vandalism. Policy first read, Orange Board of Education Policy 5141.5, students suicide prevention and intervention. These policies will be presented to the board in the December meeting for action. Please review the policies if you have any questions. As always, contact Dr. Scarpetti, myself, or Betty Hadlock. All right? Very well. Standing committees. Ms. Riccio, Finance and Operations.
Yes, the Finance and Operations Subcommittee meeting, no, just Finance. That's,
Oh,
just Finance, sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's Mike's title, that's
I tried
not.
to give you a promotion.
No, that's Jeff's.
I tried to, yeah.
Anyway, the Finance Subcommittee met prior to this meeting. We went over the October financials. Everything was in order. It is a 2-pay month. We also reviewed the cafeteria update. Lunches are slightly up, which is great, and they are continuing to have all of their special events, which seems to be a draw, which is great. And we did have an update of some of the newer grants, and all of our finances are in order. Questions?
Any questions for Ms. Riccio? Very well, thank you. Personnel, Policy, Transportation, Mrs. Hadlock is not here. Buildings and Grounds Safety, I did try to remove him from operations, but Susan foiled my attempt.
Nice try.
Mr. Cap.
So our committee met on Monday, October 30th, and we went over just a few items. And the first item that we went over was the 5-year capital plan that was presented to all of you on this board tonight. So that's what our committee went over and came up with. And then we just went over some grants, security grants to be semi-specific. But I can't get any more detail on that. But otherwise, that is it.
Any questions for Mr. Cap? Very well. Curriculum, Instruction, Technology, Mr. Zyman.
In the old days, when Mike Gray was still a principal, we had a presentation here at the Board of Ed by people who were justifiably proud of Orange's new teacher evaluation instrument. This was created in what has become the way we do things in Orange under Dr. Scarpetti and Russo. That is, research and standards-based and accomplished with the cooperation and efforts of teachers and administrators. It was designed to enable our teachers to be able to reflect on their teaching and find a way they could actually improve their delivery of instruction to our children. And we were happy. Then COVID happened. And with their children being taught remotely, parents became more intimately involved with how their children were learning. A number of these parents became dissatisfied with what they witnessed. When this unhappiness was expressed, some politicians in the state became more involved in education, leading to, among other things, the Right to Read Act. To be sure, there were districts in Connecticut that needed to update their curriculums. There were districts that were ignoring some of the current research in education, instead clinging to more traditional approaches. Good in the 80s, not so much for today and tomorrow. To be sure, Orange was not one of them. Now, I'm going to assume here that everyone remembers all I've said in praise of the Orange school system under Dr. Scarpetti and Russo, and merely go on. We're still waiting to hear from the state on our waiver to be allowed to continue on as we've been, rather than be dragged back to the pack. The saying, "a rising tide raises all boats," doesn't necessarily address boats that were sailing well above the tide to begin with. Still, the state, obviously not paying attention to me, has mandated that all districts adopt a new instrument for teacher evaluation. Since no waiver process was offered, I'm confident that the Orange school system will create a new, though unnecessary tool, at least be the equivalent of the current one. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Zyman. Any questions for Mr. Zyman? Very well. Ms. Riccio, ACES.
Okay, so the ACES Governing Board met November 9th, 2023 in Hamden at our Staff Development Building. We reviewed all the finances. The good news is that ACES is currently operating at a surplus. We generally operate at a surplus, or we hope to at the end of the year. It's actually early in the year for us to still be having to have a surplus, so that's why I bring it up. We did have a presentation from Early Head Start, because we are the sponsor of Early Head Start in Middletown. And that's going well. We've got very good feedback from the federal government on our Early Head Start program. Heather Granja is our director, and she's been doing a great job. We got an update on our Bassett Road, which will be a special ed school. All of our special ed schools will ultimately end up at Bassett Road. But we got an update on the construction projects. ACES at Chase and Wintergreen, they're also having some construction projects, and we got an update on both of those as well. We signed a new contract for our non-bargaining employees. And we increased substitute teacher wages, whether you're certified or not certified, whether you have a bachelor's or a master's or whatever. Those rates have changed, and I will provide them to Dr. Scarpetti and Dr. Russo. We have moved, ACES's central office did move from 370 James Street, New Haven. And we do have some additional furniture and items that districts were able to review, look at them, and see if they wanted to either purchase or receive them. And I know Mr. Gray and Dr. Scarpetti, maybe others, took a look at some of them. I know that there was another district that in, I think it was Waterbury, who took a look at some as well, which was great because we don't need the furniture any longer. We also, we got a lot of updates on Veterans Day, on plays that were going on. There was a podcast that they put out from one of the schools. There was a lot going on. Those are the highlights anyway. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys, is we did a new design plan, so designing for the future. And in here, shows you in lots of colors and pictures of students, and all about the schools, all about what ACES does, and it explains each of the schools. And if, people are interested, let me know. I can get you a copy. I can pass it along. But there's a lot of good stuff. And my picture's in here too, as the governing board chair. Woohoo! So, but yeah, and I was up for election and I won again, so just telling you. So you guys want to take a look at it. But yeah, so the design committee did a great job, and so their mission is much shorter now. So, any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Riccio on that basis? I would like a signed copy of that, please.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Very well. Okay, again, welcome, Anthony. You get to vote on this last one,
Don't let him make a motion.
last motion. You want to?
Motion to
Let
adjourn?
him make a motion.
All right. Before we adjourn, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Please have a safe and happy. All right, so I will be looking for a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Anthony, I have a second from Mr. Diamond. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Very well. We are adjourned at 7:47. Thank you very much.